This video is going to be really bad. And by that, I mean, according to David Icke, we're all sheep. And I have to agree as one of the sheep. However, there is a silver lining. If the sheep can learn how to get out of the sheep pen, then maybe we cannot be so bad. Anyways, I'm going to break down another part of chapter 1 of David Icke's book that has been out for a very long time but needs to be reviewed. Everything about this is really fitting for the Beyond channel, Alice in Wonderland, and the World Trade Center disaster. Yeah, September 11th. Let's get into it. Now, for those who are not familiar with this series, I am reading David Icke's book, large portions. I mean large portions of the book. However, I am transforming the work through massive amounts of commentary and explanation. So it is not me just ripping off his book. However, I do encourage you to buy a copy of the book for yourself. I'll have the link hopefully in the show notes, so you can go get the Amazon affiliate link and give our channel a little support as well when you buy a copy of the book for yourself. And it won't cost you anything extra, but it will help the channel. It'll also help us get in trouble, not so much in trouble with the publisher for using such large amounts of the book verbatim. However, again, this is fair use because I'm providing commentary, explanation, and lots of it. So on screen right here, and by the way, every single one of these videos is designed to be independent, meaning as much as possible, you don't have to have listened to the entire series. And right now, there's only one video before this, 001. This is going to be 002. So you haven't missed much. But if you feel like you've missed something or you want to go back and get it, go ahead and do so. I try to think in compartmentalized. This is what this show is mostly going to be about, but we're using the book as the framework. So I'm going to go ahead and step forward in the book to the place that we are. We're on chapter 1, and we're well into chapter 1. So when I get to the stopping point, you'll see all these highlights of things that were covered in 001. I'm right here. We are right there. Not too terribly. And by the way, we have more to cover than can possibly probably be done just to get through chapter 1. So I'm going to move pretty fast, and I'm going to read large portions. The first part's going to start out talking about symbolism that the world elite, the leaders of societies and governments use to communicate. It'll be relatively brief, and the whole rest of it's going to be about the pyramid structure of the Illuminati. And is that a real thing? Yes, the Illuminati is a real thing. Now, David Icke will take it a step further and say the Illuminati, before it was known as the Illuminati, existed way back when the first civilization arose on Earth in Sumeria, and the city of Babylon and the Sumerian rulers that got together then have perpetuated their leadership across the globe and throughout time ever since. And one iteration of that is called the Illuminati, but it's the name that everybody knows. And so while he talks about the Illuminati starting in the summer, it actually started in the 1700s, officially on paper. So we'll set that aside. So let's talk about globalism, the world elite, and the few families, according to David Icke, that run everything. And I'm just going to give you my best interpretation of what I agree with and what I disagree with, and food for thought when I'm like not sure. I'll just tell you. The secret language of symbolism. The Bloodlines and their Illuminati network are obsessed with symbolism, and I would agree with that. Look, I've said before on this channel, I plan on showing you about the Olympics. The Olympics is a place where the entire world watches all the countries around the world compete and stuff, and the opening ceremonies of the Olympics is is full of massive symbolism. And a lot of people are confused, like, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever seen. No, what's stupid is that we as the sheep don't know what those symbols mean. That is books like this. That's what books like this are going to educate you on, to start to wake up that maybe the symbols aren't just stupid. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense to you, perhaps, because you haven't educated yourself. Hopefully, throughout this channel, the Beyond channel, we'll go beyond the Olympics, go beyond the symbols. We'll show you where those symbols come from and what they mean to the rulers of society. The corporations that run your car, that own your cars, and they have symbols for their companies. We've talked about this in other videos on this channel. Those symbols mean things to them. Symbolism means things to them. Their symbols and codes going back thousands of years can clearly be found throughout American society and the rest of the world. The ancient Illuminati symbol of the pyramid, with the capstone missing, or the pyramid and the all-seeing eye, was placed on the dollar bill. Figure 3, and you've seen that before. I guess we don't. Do we have figure 3? Where the hell is figure 3? There it is. See that right there? The all-seeing eye, the capstone on the pyramid. Why is that there? Why in a Christian nation? Why in a Christian nation Some would say that's the Eye of Horus. That's what many people will tell you. That's the Egyptian Eye of Horus. You tell me why a country founded supposedly on Christian fundamentals. This is a Christian nation, BA. This is a Christian nation. If it's a Christian nation, why would you have, even if it was true that it was the Eye of Horus, an Egyptian god, why is an Egyptian god on your dollar bill if you're a Christian nation? What the fuck does a Christian nation have to do with an Egyptian god of Horus? We'll set that aside. The waking up part is realizing that it's right there in front of your face and always has been, but you just go, oh, that's just stupid. That's not what it is. Listen, you're missing something. So that all-seeing eye was placed on the dollar bill in 1933 by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, one of the most significant frontmen of the Illuminati in the United States during this 20th century. And if you don't sit there and take a moment to go, okay, why is that symbol there? Why does someone say Franklin Roosevelt is the guy that did it, and why is that important? Maybe you should dig into the fucking history of Franklin Roosevelt. Nobody does that. I shouldn't say nobody, because people like David Icke do this. People like me do this. But the reason being is that a lot of people don't. You don't have time. Sports are on in like 30 minutes. I got to go watch my football team. We don't spend time to dig into, well, why is that? Well, you know what? Like I'm just going to spend the dollar bill and move on with my life. That's what makes us sheeple. I'm one of them. Trust me. I'm not trying to belittle you. I'm trying to wake us all up. I'm trying to have us all pay attention to people like David Icke, who've been saying this for a long time. I told you we're going to have a lot of commentary. The most obvious Illuminati symbol is the eternal flame, or the lighted torch, and this represents the illuminated ones, the initiates who are illuminated into the knowledge that the rest of the population is denied. 1,000 points of light, George Bush said one time, and the Congress erupted. This is 1,000 points of light. And everybody's like, why? I don't get it. Why was that so important? Because you're not illuminated. You're not one of the ones that are in the know. If you were in the know, if you knew their symbols, if you knew their language, you'd know why everybody erupted into ruckus cheering when Bush said 1,000 points of light. It meant nothing to the masses. It meant everything to them. So that's what people like David Icke would tell you. Maybe he's wrong. Maybe they just cheered because they wanted to have something to cheer. Maybe we're all fucking meh, meh. Sorry. The Illuminati lighted torch is held by the Statue of Liberty. This was given to New York by French Freemasons in Paris, who knew that she and the torch what it really symbolized. There is a virtual mirror image of the Statue of Liberty on an island in the River Seine. I'm not sure how to pronounce that exactly, in Paris. The Statue of Liberty is, in fact, the symbolic image of Queen Semiramis, the goddess worshipped by the Illuminati bloodlines when they were based in Babylon. And Semiramis and her son Nimrod and that whole story. Holy shit, if you don't know these stories, you will miss all the symbolism all over all your government buildings and you'll just go, well, I don't know why you're so obsessed with all these ancient shit. It's because you're not listening. I feel like I'm being a dick. I'm not trying to talk down to you. I wrestle with this shit myself. What I'm saying is David Icke and people like him make a really good argument that we are just not paying attention. If you look at figures 4 and 5, the overleaf, you can see that the image of Queen Semiramis on an ancient coin and her representation as the Statue of Liberty. So let's skip ahead there and look at it real quick. There you go. This is an ancient coin depicting Queen Semiramis, the branch bearer, and that's how she was depicted on ancient coins. This is the Statue of Liberty. Is there any difference? Do you see it? It's the same. So that's what he would argue. They know what that meant. You just pretend like it's just really interesting. I wonder why she has that sun. And then they'll explain it to you. The rays of sun coming out of her head represent whatever the fuck they want to tell you. The masses are told one thing. Those in the know. That is the argument of the book. So, the Statue of Liberty is, in fact, the symbolic image of Queen Semiramis, the goddess worshipped by the Illuminati. I read that already. If you look at figure 4 and 5, read that already, you can see the image of Queen Semiramis on an ancient coin that represents the Statue of Liberty. The Babylonian Trinity was Nimrod, who is symbolized as a fish, Tammuz, and Ninus, the son who died to save humanity, and Queen Semiramis, the mother goddess, who is symbolized as a dove. And if you want to really blow your mind, and this is not for children, no children should ever, you know what? Let's just remind you with this right down here. Parental discretion is advised. If you want to get into Nimrod, who his mother was obsessed with the fact that her son was extremely well endowed. When he died, and there's legends of about being cut up, one of the parts of his body was his penis that was sent somewhere and went missing, and she erected a gigantic obelisk to make everybody bow down and worship and revere her son's giant penis. You think that's nuts? Read the stories. And when we have an obelisk in Washington, D.C., the Washington State obelisk, the Washington Monument, a giant obelisk, all these big countries have these giant obelisks, one pillar standing erect. See, I almost knocked my hat off. I'm just like, fuck. It sounds like a joke until you read it. Read it. It's nuts. And there's so much. Tammuz as a representation of Jesus, Queen Mary, Mother Mary, Queen Semiramis. Look, at some point, all of them know that the images are all the same. Or so the story goes. Although those who are sheeple will tell you, you have too much time on your hand. You need to get with the program like the rest of us sheep and watch Sunday Night Football. The Illuminati use what I call reverse symbolism. They place their symbols all around us, but present them with the reverse of their public meaning. For example, the dove symbolizes peace to most people, but to the Illuminati bloodlines, it represents their goddess Semiramis. The light-hearted torch means freedom and liberty to the population, but to the Illuminati, it is the very symbol of their agenda to control. The Nazis reversed the ancient symbol of the swastika to symbolize the negative and Satanists. The Nazis reversed the ancient symbol of the swastika to symbolize the negative, and Satanists have reversed the pentagram to point downwards for the same reason. And yes, the swastika was a great symbol of power and protection in some places until the Nazis used it and reversed the direction of the swastika. Now it becomes this evil symbol. The pentagram, an upright star, used to be a sign of protection, and then the Satanist flipped the star upside down, reversed it, and now it's like supposedly some evil thing if it's an upside down star. This is what he's talking about. Symbolism is often reversed, or the meaning is told to the public that's opposite or very different from what those who are illuminated know. After they killed President Kennedy in Dallas, 1963, the Scottish Rite of Freemasons placed an obelisk in Dealey Plaza with a lighted torch at the top. When they buried Kennedy at Arlington Cemetery in Washington, D.C., they placed a lighted torch, the Illuminati eternal flame, on his grave. The spot where people leave their tributes to the murdered Princess Diana in Paris is a massive representation of the flame held by the Statue of Liberty. It is located on top of Point La Alma tunnel, where the Illuminati arranged for her to die in 1997. So yes, he's claiming that in his book, The Biggest Secret, he'll talk about how Princess Diana was murdered and his theories about how that happened. And what he's pointing out is that the Masons come along after a major assassination of a president or whatever, and they put torches or obelisks on top of it to let you know, for the illuminated ones, those who are in the know, who did it. And that's what he's arguing. And that's what I've been told for a long time. And it sounds crazy. If I try to explain it to somebody, they say, oh my God, DA, you need to just stick to true crime, motherfucker. You got too much time on your hand. Queen Semiramis, which translates as branch bearer, was symbolized in Babylon as a dove. And when the Illuminati bloodlines moved their headquarters to Rome, this goddess was worshipped as Venus Columba, or Venus the dove. And again, I already did a video, As Above, So Below, about Washington, D.C. and all the obsession with that kind of symbolism. The French word for the dove is still colombe. This is why a man who signed his name colon is known to the official history as Columbus. So his name was Colon, but we call him Columbus. Why? Because Columba, Venus Columba, was the goddess. It's hidden language that the masses are like, hey, I love Columbus. And you don't know that there's a deeper meaning to those who are in the know. And I can't even explain all the things that it means. This book's going to attempt to, this book is one of many, many books he has trying to explain this to people. But what he will point out is the same thing I'll point out. Americans' attention span is very, very short. So at some point you start checking out. Hell, you may have checked out and turned this video off a long time ago. Like, fucking, what the guy's just talking about? Anyways, Columbus, was bearing the branch of the dove into the Americas in 1492 and was given this symbolic name relating to the Illuminati goddess. So he was named Columbus because that meant something to those who knew who the goddess Columbo or Columba was. And so we have the center of U.S. government located in Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. Get it? They know. Columbia, the goddess. Or the dove, Semiramis. We have the British Columbia and Canada, Columbia Broadcasting System, Columbia University, Columbia Pictures, all with the symbol of a woman and a lighted torch. Because they know. That's the Statue of Liberty, motherfucker. Yes. The symbol around in relation to September 11th also. The symbol abounds. Sorry. The symbols abound in relation. That's what I should say. Let me read this correctly. The symbols abound in relation to September 11th also. This whole book is about September 11th, but he's going to touch on all the shit that it's like if he were to just tell you why September 11th was pulled off by whatever, you'd be like, that's nuts. Well, he's trying to lay the groundwork down. This isn't something that happened overnight. And he's got books and books and books to try to explain how it happened. Most people will never read them. He will explain this. The Twin Towers or Twin Pillars are ancient Illuminati symbols that go back to at least to Atlantis. One of the foundation legends in the mythology of the Freemasons and the Knights Templar secret societies is that of Jachin and Boaz, the twin pillars of Atlantis, which are said to have been erected at the entrance of King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. In the Old Testament, you will find reference to this. This is a quote from the Old Testament Bible that Christians read, right? And he set up pillars in the porch of the temple, and he set up the right pillar, and he called the name thereof Jachin. And he set up the left pillar, and he called the name thereof Boaz, 1 Kings 7:21. And he reared up the pillars. This is another verse from the Bible. And he reared up the pillars before the temple, one on the right hand and the other on the left. And he called the name of that one on the right Jachin and the name on the left Boaz from 2 Chronicles 3:17. And what he's saying is, what Ike's trying to say is, if you read far enough back into our past, you will find those are the pillars of some other system that the Bible borrowed and the Freemasons borrowed, and because they knew what those erected pillars represented, a time in a previous generation that we have forgotten, the masses, but not the people who are in the know. Is he crazy? Let's keep digging. You will find the symbols of the twin pillars in Freemasonic architecture, and the original ones are said to have been built, according to Freemasonic legend, by the inhabitants of Atlantis called the Children of Lamech. So he will tell you that Freemasons tell you in their own lore, the Freemason lore, that they know that the pillars of Jachin and Boaz date back to Atlantis and the Children of Lamech, not from the Bible. For those people who think, oh, they got that straight out of the Bible. Ike will argue, no, Freemasons, no, it goes back further than the Bible. It goes back to the inhabitants of Atlantis. The United States is the new Atlantis. And I got a book back here behind me called The New Atlantis about the founding of the United States and how it was related. I got a book about the whole subject, about Washington, D.C. and the United States being the new Atlantis. It was considered the new Atlantis to the Illuminati. There is a legend of the twin pillars or the twin towers in which one represented Upper Egypt or the North Tower and the other symbolized Lower Egypt, the South Tower. There is also the mythology of the twin powers of Hercules, or twin pillars of Hercules, that he is said to have placed at the entrance of the Mediterranean. Remember Hercules between the two pillars and pushed them apart and toppled everything, right? Wasn't that Hercules? Or was that Solomon? Oh shit, that's Solomon. I'm getting my shit mixed up. Wait a minute. Or is it the same? Stick that one in your memory bank. I know I sound like a nutbag. Trust me, I get it. I've got so much information in my head that sometimes I just jumble that shit up myself. The number 11 itself, of course, consists of two columns, two pillars. And the first plane to hit the Twin Towers on September 11th was flight number 11. So now we're getting into some numerology. Is that just a coincidence? The two towers, they look like the number 11 standing up. It happened on September 11th. The first plane was flight 11 that hits it. The recurrence of 11 in the events of that day are remarkable, but highly predictable for those who study the Illuminati ritual. It was 11 years. It was 11 years to the day. Listen, this blew my mind. When I first got into studying 9/11, this blew my mind. 9/11 event, the crashing of the planes into the World Towers, was 11 years to the day when on September 11th in 1990, Father George Bush made a speech to Congress calling for a new world order. This is a new world order, 1,000 points of light. That happened, that speech talking about we need to move towards a new world order happened on September 11th, 1990, 11 years to the day before September 11th trade centers came down. And you think, well, that's just a coincidence, sir. Is it this whole book is going to try to challenge your belief that it was just a coincidence. This is the ancient code name for the Illuminati agenda for global control. The New World Order is the ancient code of the Illuminati for total global control that the terrorist attacks were designed to advance. What is that saying? You've heard on the dollar bill, Novus Ordo Seclorum or whatever, the New World Order is on your dollar bill in Latin. It says the New World Order on your dollars with the all-seeing eye and the pyramid. And he's telling you that shit is all there because those in the know what they're pushing for. They've been pushing from the beginning of this country, the New Atlantis, to form a new world order, to bring all the nations under the control of one world government, a new world order, 1,000 points of light. It's a big idea. That's what Bush said on that speech in 1990. This is a big idea. A new world order. And most people missed it. Or David Icke and people that think like that, and me, because I'm explaining it to you, are completely fucking idiots and have way too much time on our hand. The Pentagon was also targeted on September 11th. The symbol of the Pentagon is the center of a pentagram. And yes, if you draw a 5-pointed star, that middle part, where if you draw, remember how we used to learn how to use lines and with one single continuous line, draw a 5-pointed star? Right in the middle of that, where all those points go off to, is a pentagon. That is the shape of the Pentagon. It is essentially, I showed you in a as above, so below video, I showed you how Washington, D.C. is laid out with a gigantic pentagram, or a star, a giant star on the streets of Washington, D.C. You can see it today, Google Maps. If you know what you're looking for, you'll see it plain as day. It's still there. The Pentagon, same way. It's a 5-pointed star without the tips on it. It's just the inside of the 5-pointed star. The symbol of the Pentagon is the center of a pentagram, the most obvious symbol of satanic and Illuminati ritual. And the 911 is the phone number that Americans call 911. Sorry, 911 is the phone number Americans call to report emergencies. Is it a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? 911. Does it mean something? Is that why we call 911? Because 9 and 11 mean something to those who are in the know. This is not a coincidence, Icke says, as anyone who has studied the Illuminati's astonishing obsession with symbolism will know. So where do you go with that? For those people who say, oh my God, symbolism, ritual, occult numbers, numerology, you guys are all fucking nuts. That's fine. If you don't believe numbers have power and symbols have power, that's totally fine. But how about you take for a moment the possibility that your world leaders, your governments, designed things with those numbers and symbols in mind. So while it might mean nothing to you, it means something to them, or they wouldn't spend time and taxpayers' dollars using it to make sure that things are erected on certain days and have certain symbols in them. So you can laugh at it all you want. Your tax fucking dollars are paying for them to pull off this numerology and all this shit that you laugh at. The name Capitol Hill is also Illuminati symbolism and named after Capitoline Hill, a sacred place for the Illuminati outside of Rome during the Roman Empire. And there's a lot of connections to Rome and Washington, D.C., by the way. The symbolism can also be found in their language and statements. To crack their code, you have to reverse what they appear to say. When they announce that they believe something, it means they don't. When they say they will do something, that means they won't. When they say they won't, it means they will, and so on. It is a real-life Alice in Wonderland. That's why he named the book this. Double speak is how these people work. They say one thing and do another, almost always. They operate with this coded symbolism in which everything is reversed. Thus, killing thousands of Afghan civilians becomes fighting for freedom, peace, and justice. We're going to go kill the entire Middle East because we're peacekeepers fighting for freedom and peace. Wait a minute. You're killing people. Yes, in the name of peace. We're going to open up a can of whoop ass, a can of democracy on your ass. We're giving you freedom as we kill you. And you're like, what the fuck? All right. Now, this is the rest of the chapter, and we've got a half hour to do it in. We're not going to make it, I'm pretty sure. I expected the symbolism part to last me 10 minutes. It lasted me 20-something minutes, so we're way behind schedule. Now we're going to get into ruling families, and I'll go as fast as I can without doing it disservice. If we have to do more on this chapter, we will. The world, I like to keep it at about an hour because that's about as much people can tolerate at a maximum. Give you a good commute to work, or watch it, half of it on your way to work and half on the way back. The world's elite families, no more than 13 at the peak of the pyramid, manipulate their control of humanity through a network of secret societies. And what he's going to say is all organizations are shaped like a pyramid. The workers are down here. There's a mass amount of workers. And the higher you go up, you got middle management, you got upper management, and you've got the CEOs and whatever. And at the very top is just a few people. The president of the company, the CEO of the company, and and the CIO, and like 2 or 3 people. Everything else is the masses down below. All organizations, whether they're a school, a bank, the car dealership, all of them are organized the same way. The masses are down below and the large number of people. And then the higher you go, fewer and fewer people control the decision making. This network and the interbreeding bloodlines it serves have become known as the Illuminati, the illuminated ones. And that's why he would argue that pyramid is on the back of your dollar bills. It's a reminder of the power structure. Only the people at the very, very top, that capstone, are the eye, the all-seeing eye that watches over everything. All of everybody else, all humanity is down below them. They are above. They are your gods. They are the people who are illuminated and have total awareness of everything that everybody down below does and control everything below. This network and the interbreeding bloodlines it serves becomes known as the Illuminati, the illuminated ones. The Illuminati is an organization with all significant within all significant organizations. It's like a cancer. All the major secret societies feed carefully chosen recruits into the Illuminati, and these are the ones that you find in positions of power throughout the world. Most Freemasons never progress higher than the bottom 3 levels of the degree, the so-called blue degrees. So now he's going to get into this. Like a lot of people say, well, my granddaddy, my father was a Freemason. He can't be a bad guy. So you're trying to tell me that Freemasons are evil, but that can't be because my great-granddaddy and my great-great-granddaddy were Freemasons. Great. That's fantastic. Here's the good news for you. 99% of all Freemasons would have no clue what's happening at the very, very upper echelons. That's what Ike's going to tell you. That, yeah, you're right. Most Freemasons have no fucking clue. And in fact, most Freemasons will tell you that's complete dumb. It's dumb. That's not what we do. Nobody in Freemasonry does the things they say they do because they aren't there. They're not at the top. If they were at the top, they wouldn't be talking to you. The people at the bottom, which is the majority, the vast majority, they have no idea what the organization is being used for. Even most of those who make it to the apparently highest level, like the 33rd degree in the Scottish Rite, can know relatively little unless they're chosen. So the argument, Ike says, is that most people have no clue. Even if you're in the organization, you have no clue. At least 95% of their members have no idea that these levels exist. Never mind who's in them and what happens. What he's saying is there's levels beyond the levels that you don't even know about. Even people in the organization are never told about levels beyond the levels where they're at. At some point, you think that's the highest level there is. And then lo and behold, if you get chosen, you'll find out there's more. Among the key secret societies within the Illuminati web are the upper levels of Freemasons, Knights Templars, Knights of Malta, Knights of St. John of Jerusalem, the Jesuits, the network that controls the Roman Catholic Church and uses it to serve the Illuminati. The Jesuit hierarchy is extremely powerful within the Illuminati all over the world and highly significant in manipulation of global society. Some of the family's lines involved are the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the House of Lorraine, Habsburgs, and Thurn and Taxis dynasty from Bergamo, Italy, which expanded into Belgium, Bavaria, and wider afield. All right. Now, this is a lot. And again, I can't do a history lesson, nor do I know history enough to know all the things. He's going to talk about world wars. He's going to talk about history. And I don't know world wars enough to counter his argument. So we're going to lay out his argument that I can't counter his argument. Maybe you can counter his argument. Don't fight me though and say, DA, you're an idiot. In World War II, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know. I'm not a World War II historian. And I almost guarantee you that the version that you've been told is the one the masses told you. That's his whole point. You've been told what the masses were told to believe about World War II. So yeah, you can regurgitate what you learned in school. But is that what is really what happened? Well, he's going to tell you a different version of things. Jim Shaw, a former 33rd degree Freemason, exposes the craft in his book, The Deadly Deception, and confirms what I have just described. Only a few make it to the top of the 33 degrees of Scottish Rite Freemasonry or the 10 degrees of the York Rite, and even then they still don't know the real secrets. Shaw says he was surprised when a fellow 33 degree Mason said that they had told him he was going higher, and the guy left the temple by a different door. So what he's saying is, look, I'm at the highest degree in Freemasonry, 33 degree, and some guy says, hey, I guess I just got tapped and going up to a higher degree, and then went through a different door he didn't even know about. Didn't even know it existed. So you have this vast web of secret societies with millions of members worldwide who think that they know what they're involved in, but in truth, only a few have any idea of what's going on and who ultimately is calling the shots. And I would argue that's easy for anywhere. Do you as a worker in your company have any clue what's going on in the boardroom or the stakeholder meeting? No, you have none. If you're just a worker, you have no fucking clue. And maybe above them is even something else. Then he talks briefly about Albert Pike. He was a leader of Freemasonry. There's statues to him in our country in different places. Albert Pike, who died in 1891, was one of the most preeminent figures in world Freemasonry. Among his titles were Sovereign Grand Commander of the Supreme Council of the 33 Degree and Supreme Pontiff of Universal Freemasonry. In his book, Morals and Dogmas, written for higher degree Freemasons, he reveals the way that the lower levels are misled. And this was my introduction to Freemasonry. The idea that Freemasons themselves are lied to about what they're doing. According to Albert Pike, a super high level Freemason, he says in his book, Morals and Dogmas, that the lower levels of Freemasons are lied to. This is a quote from his book. The blue degrees are but the outer court or portico of the temple. Part of the symbols are displayed there to the initiate, but he is intentionally misled by false interpretations. It is not intended that he should understand them, but it is intended that he shall imagine he understands them. Their true implication is reserved for the adepts and the princes of Masonry. So he says, look, if you're in the organization and someone says, Masons believe this, and you've been told something else, you'll be like, you're a dumbass. I'm a Mason. I know what it means. They told me this. Yes, they did tell you that. And one can argue somebody really, really hype in Masonry, who's got statues erected to him in his country, said what you as a Mason believe you know and were told is a lie. So you can argue with anybody till you're blue lodge, blue in the face, and you still don't know. Is this making any sense, or am I confusing you? Am I confusing myself? When I say confusing you, I'm not saying that you're dumb. I'm saying I'm not sure if I'm making sense to myself even. I don't know, somewhere it makes sense to me. All right, let's keep pushing. It is actually astonishing how few people you need to control in order to dictate your agenda through the whole system if they are in a positions of key decision-making and they have the power to appoint those in important positions below them. So yeah, only a few people have to be in places of power. And then they appoint people who will follow what they tell them, and then so on and so on. And as long as you have the ability to control the people right below you, you can get it passed all the way down the food chain. An example you control, as an example, you control the chief of police who decides the policy, and he can appoint the heads of various departments in his force. He introduces Illuminati policy and chooses his major subordinates from secret society initiates. They in turn can appoint the people within their department and can thus choose more secret society initiates for the positions below them. And so it goes. Once you have control of the top man of any organization, the pyramid is built in, i.e. the Illuminati's image. So all you need to do is have the first guy pick people from secret societies to be the tops, and then they pick people from secret societies to be the next level, and so on and so on. And you're all kind of pledged to the same structure and allegiance. Understanding the pyramid structure is vital to understanding how the few can manipulate the many on a global scale. The pyramid structure of secret societies mirrored in government, banking, business, and every other organization and institution. It is like those Russian dolls with one doll inside a bigger one until the biggest doll encompasses them all. The Illuminati replaced the dolls with pyramids. Every organization today is a pyramid. Only the few at the top know the real agenda of the organization and what it is trying to achieve. How many of you who work for a company really, really participate in your company's profits, know anything at all about, are you ever asked what your opinion is? And trust me, I've been at companies where they try to make you believe hey, we want our people to be part of this system. Fuck off. None of those are meetings to placate the population and make you think you belong to something. Think clearly if you've ever been in an organization where they value your opinion and want to help shape the company and give you stock in your own company. It's an illusion. Somebody at the top still getting way, way more power than you, and you know it. In your heart, you know it. But they make you feel, oh, we want your opinion, brother. Anyways. The further you go down the pyramid, the more people are working for the organization, but the less they know about its real agenda. They are only aware of the individual job they do every day. They don't know how their contribution, apparently innocent in isolation, connects with those of other employees in other areas of the company. They are compartmentalized from that knowledge and are told only what they need to know to do their job. The only people who know how it all fits together are the very few sitting at the top, the bloodline families and their lackeys. The smaller pyramids, like the local branch of a bank, fit into the bigger and bigger pyramids until eventually you have the pyramid that encompasses all the banks. It is the same. So yes, if you're a branch manager at your local city, that branch manager has to report to somebody who's part of the bigger bank, the corporation. So then the corporate person is part of a bigger branch, is part of a conglomerate of banks. And if you keep working your way up, you're working for the global bankers. All of them, down to the lowest branch manager, is all ultimately working for the global bankers, a handful of families that own all the money. It is the same with transnational corporations, political parties, secret societies, media empires, and the military. If you go high enough in this structure, all of the transnational corporations like oil, the oil cartel, major political parties, secret societies, media empires, and military are controlled by the same families who sit at the top of the biggest pyramids. So that's what it's going to argue. No matter what you go into, if you go high enough up the pyramid, it's going to be the same 13 families. In the end, there's a global pyramid that encompasses all the others, the biggest doll, if you like. At the capstone of this, you will find the most elite of the Illuminati, the purest of the bloodlines. And that's part of what he's arguing. It's also about bloodline. The people at the very, very top all have a very similar bloodline. It is not by accident or natural occurrence. It is by coldly calculated design. The outstanding Australian journalist, John Pilger, produced a rare and excellent expose of globalization for British independent television in July of 2001, in which he pointed out that just 200 corporations are now responsible for a quarter of the world's economic activity. But there's another level to this that we urgently need to understand. This pyramid system means that those 200 corporations are, in effect, one corporation controlled by the same force. Now, that he doesn't explain very well. I highlighted it, but he doesn't explain it very well, and I'm not going to try to explain it. But even 200 corporations sounds like a lot. But what he's saying is those 200 corporations really work for the same corporation. So we'll hear him out. I want to keep pushing to see how much we can get through this. When a few people wish to control control and direct a mass of humanity, there are certain key structures that have to be in place. These are the same whether you're seeking to manipulate an individual, family, tribe, town, country, continent, or planet. First, you have to impose the norms. You first have to establish what is normal behavior, what is considered right and wrong, possible or impossible, sane or insane, good or bad. Most of the people will follow those norms without question because of the I didn't just make that up. It was in the book and I just took it to an nth. They follow the herd mentality that has prevailed within the collective human mind for at least 10,000 years. What he's saying is, once you know what normal behavior looks like, you then criticize everyone around you for not being normal. You've been brainwashed into what's normal, and then if somebody strays from the normal, you've been brainwashed into treating them poorly because they're not normal. Why are you not like the rest of us? Why are you not following the program? This is the way we do things. But that was imposed upon you, and you were made to feel that was normal. Second, you have to make life very unpleasant for those who challenge your imposed norms. The most effective way to do this is to ensure that it is, in effect, a crime to be different. So you establish what the norms are, and then you make it criminal behavior to be abnormal. If you don't do what the herd wants to do, what you were told we want you to behave like, that's criminal behavior. You're abnormal. Something's wrong with you. There's a Japanese saying that goes like this: don't be a nail that stands out above the rest, because that's the first one to get hit. It's a great proverb, or whatever you want to call it. You know, imagine a bunch of nails in a board and one of them sticking up higher. If you're going to try to nail the board down, are you going to probably start with that one that's sticking higher? So don't be the person who stands out above the crowd. Don't be the one who's saying, hey, wait a minute, this is a bunch of you just got smashed, put in jail. We don't tolerate someone standing out from the crowd. This fear of being different and voicing a view that challenges the norms is overwhelmingly the fear of what other people will think of us. In reality, the fear of what the sheep around us will say and do if we seek to leave the herd and question its conditioned assumption. This mentality creates a situation fundamental to the few controlling the many, because it means that the masses are policing themselves and keeping each other in line. The sheep become the sheepdog for the rest of the herd. It's like a prisoner trying to escape while the rest of his cellmates rush to stop him. We have been conditioned to police ourselves. If I say something that challenges someone's belief system, the response is, you're a fucking idiot. We all know this is the way it is. And because the masses agree with the way it is, because that's the established norm, he will have all of them on his side. Yeah, you're an idiot. That guy just said so. This is the way we do shit. You're wrong. And it's extremely hard to fight against that, which is why people like myself, who come up with things that are not what the masses are, what the media is telling you, we get punished. You're an idiot. So-and-so did this murder because they said so. And all the rest of us agree. All of us can't be wrong. We all been told this is the way it is. We all saw the same thing. You come along saying something different. You're by yourself. You're the outcast. So we police ourselves. And because when we're by ourselves trying to say, hey, meh, maybe we should listen to this. They're like, no, meh, the sheep herd says no. That's not what we've been told. I'm beating a dead sheep. That most have no idea they are unpaid mind controllers. Most of us have no idea that we are perpetuating the same control system. We willingly ostracize our friends, our family. When they leave our religion, we kick them out, and we're told, some religions say you can't talk to somebody if they violate your church. If God doesn't want you to hang around with these kind of people, so if they leave, you must stop talking to them. We are taught to kick people out of the tribe if they don't go along. Or you hear things like, I'm just doing what's right for my children. I hear them say. This is what he says. No. What you have been programmed to believe is right for them, and the belief also that that only you know best. Your overlords said, we know best for society, and we taught you what it is, and then you say, oh, I got to do what's best for my children, which is what your overlords want. That's what he's trying to explain. Your sense of what's right and wrong came from them. We see the same thing in our daily experiences of people in uniform and others from the masses who are promoted to power over the masses. It's summed up by this satirical version of the British Labour Party song, The Red Flag, which goes, the working class can kiss my ass. I've got the foreman's job at last. Funny, you spend all your time bitching about the people who are in control, but when you get promoted, you're like, you can all kiss my ass. I'm the boss now, bitch. And you don't realize the hypocrisy of that. But we all do it so easily. Everyone plays a part in everyone else's mental, emotional, and physical imprisonment. All the controllers have to do is set the norms, pull the right strings at the right time, and make their human puppets dance to the appropriate tune. This they do by dictating what is taught in what we bravely call education, and controlling what passes for the news through the Illuminati-owned media. So through our education system, they teach our children how things should be, what the norms are of society. And through the media, they tell grown adults what we will tolerate as a society and how you should think. And that's why we say all the time on my True Crime, media will tell you, this is how you should think about this. This is the killer, and this is how you should think about it. All the time, the media is telling you how you should think. And you as the masses, all of us usually go, okay, this is how we think about things, because your media told you this is the talking point of the day. This is how you're to think about it. Okay. Once you set the norms, there's no need to control every journalist or reporter or government official. The media and the institutions take their truth from these same norms and official statements, and therefore ridicule and condemn by reflex action anyone who offers another version. So the media has their version of what happened, and anyone who challenges it, they automatically will attack you. No, this is the truth. This guy, and here's another point he makes. Maybe we'll wrap up here because it's we're not going to get through the whole chapter. I remember so much more that he wants to tell you. I turned on the text service on UK's independent television to see a story that I was appearing on the Sci-Fi Channel to speak about my bizarre views. So David Icke turns on TV or whatever, and he sees himself, and they're going to talk about his upcoming show or appearance on the Sci-Fi Channel and his bizarre views. Whoever wrote that report, he says, has never met me, never read my books, had never done any investigation of any of the subjects for him or herself, but my views must be bizarre to this media person because they're different to those accepted by the conditioned mind. Once you control what's considered normal and possible, the whole system virtually runs itself. And is that not true? How many of you, including myself at one point, dismissed David Icke as that crazy guy who believes that shape-shifting lizards control the world? And we laughed at it. We were taught to laugh at it. We were taught to be sheeple. And yet, did you ever read his fucking book? Did you ever look at his argument? Did you ever see if he had something to it? No. Most people were taught to not question it. You just were told David Icke is a nutbag. David Icke thinks lizards run the... Oh, that's so funny. Bah. You didn't even read his book. You didn't even look at his research. And you certainly didn't spend any time researching it yourself to see if what he said after you found out about it, which you never found out about, to see if it was true. Most people will never take him seriously. Most people will never read his book. You, however, are different, which is why you came here and you sat with me for nearly an hour. There's much more in this chapter that I didn't get to, so for now, we'll put it there. I don't know if this series will do well or not. If you're enjoying it, if you find some entertainment, if you're picking up a nugget or two, if even one thing made you think twice about how we're conditioned, please let me know to encourage me to keep going, or just say, bah.